My name is Hannah Sweitzer, Doctor of Physical Therapy here at Revive PhysioTherapy, and today I'm going to take you guys through a hip stability and strength workout. So if you're joining me, first thing, take off your shoes. Hip stability also means foot and ankle stability. They both feed off of each other. So I would prefer if you're not wearing a big clunky shoe that has a surface between the floor and your foot. So take your shoes off and grab a variety of weights. We're gonna be working through a progression of exercises from easy to challenging. So make sure that you have some options. So first thing that we are going to do is just practice this movement pattern that we're gonna do throughout the whole workout. So first thing is stand on your left foot. You're going to have a kettlebell right in front of your left foot. Prop yourself up on your right toe. You want about 80% of the weight in your left foot, 20% of the weight in your right foot. Your left hand is going to go on your hip. Your right hand is going to reach down and just touch the kettlebell. If I look down, my nose is directly over my knee, not in the center. So we're adding this little bit of rotation, engaging the muscles in the left glute and hamstring, and then coming back up. So from the side, because we're hinging, it'll look like this. Okay, my back is flat, my hip is moving backwards. Two things you're not doing, we're not squatting and we're not rounding, okay? Hinging, touch, and then come back up. So because this is a little bit of a practice warm-up for the workout, we're just gonna do 8 reps on each side. As you're hinging, you want most of the weight to be in the outer edge of the forefoot of this left foot. We want to make sure that this arch stays away from the floor. Your knee is moving out towards your pinky toe as the left hip is moving backwards towards the wall. All right, so we're gonna switch to the right side. The kettlebell's in front of the right foot. Prop yourself up on your left toes. We want the majority of the weight to be in the outer edge of the right forefoot. Chest is up, right hand on the hip. We're gonna send that right hip back as the knee swings out, taking the left hand to the kettlebell, aligning our knee over the nose, squeeze the glute and hamstring, come back up. We got 8 reps here. Okay, that was our practicing the movement pattern. Now we're gonna add weight to it. So if this is brand new to you, I would recommend starting with something light. So we're going to take that kettlebell that you were just using. If this is new or if you've been exposed to single leg RDLs for a while, you wanna go heavier, go ahead. So we're gonna go back to the left leg, propping ourselves up on the right toe. The movement doesn't change, we just have weight. So we're reaching in the same direction. So left hip comes back, right hand comes down directly over those left toes. I'm loading my left glute, my left hamstring, not rounding through my back, engaging those muscles in the back of my leg, and standing straight up. So from the side, now that we have weight, don't let that weight just pull your shoulder forward and round your back. We want to keep that shoulder pulled back, and really the hip is the only thing moving here. All right, so that was about 4. Keep going till we get to 10. Sometimes it's helpful to keep this left hand on your hip just to remind yourself that is the intention of the exercise, that's the purpose, that's the muscle that we're loading. Last 2. Switch sides. So kettlebell now goes in the left hand, standing on the right foot. Prop yourself up on those left toes. As you progress through the set, Try not to let your weight shift back where now the weight's in the heel and 50% of your weight is in this kickstand leg. We want to keep it 80-20, 90-10, something where we're mostly leaning forward. Last one. Okay, put the weight down. Up next, we're gonna remove a level or a layer of stability. We're gonna take this back leg off the floor, making it a lot more of a balance challenge. So, same movement pattern, just harder from a balance standpoint. So we're gonna keep this on the floor. You are going to, again, stand with your left foot directly in front of the kettlebell. We're reaching with the right hand. This time the rear leg is coming all the way off the floor, touching, and then coming back up. So if you're really wobbly, you can tap this toe, kind of regain your balance between each rep. Like so. Or if you're a little bit more advanced, after you touch, you want to come through and lift your knee. That's an option. So from the side, it would look like this. Again, we're not squatting to touch the kettlebell. We don't want to load the knee for this workout. We want to load the hip. So we're going to keep that knee relatively straight. And again, we have a nice flat back. We're not rounding towards the kettlebell. Third piece that's really important for this one is we want to try to prevent this hip from flaring open. So when I go down, we call it closing your hip off. This right hip here, as we lower, you want to think about pulling this towards the floor as you lower your chest and lift that back leg. What you want to try to avoid is as you dip, letting that right hip open up. So you can see that my right toes are now pointed that way. You don't want that. You either want them pointing straight down or a little bit towards the other direction. That's going to help load this left hip much better, putting that hip in a better position. So touch and then lift. Okay, let's switch sides. So put the weight in front of the right foot. Chest up. We're going to take the left hand, reach across the body as we lift the left leg, dropping the left hip, touch, and then lift. Again, option to tap the toe or pull the knee through. Last piece of this balance exercise, and one of the main reasons why I suggested that you take your shoes off, is that you're really mindful of what is going on in your foot. I like to think of it as surface area. If you are smushing the entire surface area of your foot into the floor, you probably feel really balanced. We don't want to do that. You want to keep the big toe down, keep the weight towards the outer edge of the forefoot, and try to actively lift and pull that arch away from the foot so that your ankle is in a nice neutral position. So we want to avoid this position of the foot and aim for this, which can be a little bit challenging as we're moving. Let's do 5 more on this side. So it seems like a simple exercise, right? Just bending over, touching a kettlebell. But if we think about all the cues, don't round your back, hinge your hip, keep your hips closed, don't let it flare, keep the arch of your foot up, keep your big toe down. Something simple, when done correctly, can become a little bit complicated. So that's why we always start with the basics before we start to add a lot of weight and get creative. All right. So up next, we are going to do split lunges. The best way to get started with a split lunge, in my opinion, to make sure we have all the angles in the right spot, is to start on the floor. So we're gonna start on the floor, right knee down, left foot forward. You wanna try to set up so that your knee is directly over your ankle. I'm actually gonna turn to the side for this one so you guys can see. Okay, so knee over the ankle. This is knee over the toe. There is absolutely nothing wrong with knee over the toe. It's something that you should not try to avoid. Just understand the purpose of it. When we drive the knee over the toe, we're putting a lot of stress and load on the patellar tendon, the quad tendon, and the quad tendon, which is excellent if your intention and your goal is to strengthen your knees and strengthen your quads. This isn't a knee and a quad workout, it's a hip workout. So we're gonna manipulate our body, manipulate how we do this exercise so we can bias our hip and not our knee. So we're gonna pull the hip back, which is going to stack our knee over the ankle, tuck the back toes. We're also gonna lean our chest a little bit forward so we get this nice hinge position. Squeeze the upper hamstring, squeeze the glute, and then stand up. So if we reverse that, we're gonna step the right foot back, lower down, pull the left hip back, knee over ankle, engage those muscles, and then stand up. From the front, we want to be mindful of the knee moving in and out. So as we step that right foot back, we're gonna pull the hip back and the knee is gonna swing out towards that pinky toe. What you want to avoid, and it's really hard to tell if this is happening unless you're in front of a mirror, is you don't want this to happen. A lot of knee injuries happen from this caving in, collapsing of the foot, weakness in the hip, this whole pattern, and it's really easily correctable. Injuries can be avoided, pain can be fixed by just this simple pull the hip back, drive the knee out. Okay, so we started on the floor, we got set, we're using our glutes and our hamstrings. We're gonna stand up and then come right back into it. This is easy, let's grab a weight. We'll do 10 reps on each side, either weight or no weight. All right, other side, but I'm gonna get a drink first. Okay, right leg, I'm gonna say it again, it's a hip exercise, but it's also a foot and ankle exercise. So we're gonna set up, keeping the big toe down, keeping the arch of the foot lifted so that we're not rolling that inner ankle bone towards the floor. Okay, lift it up and out, pull the hip back, stack the knee over the ankle. We'll do a couple reps without the weight so you can get comfortable, and then we can add the weight in if you want. We're gonna hinge forward, engage the glute and the hamstring, and stand up. So as you look down, you should always be able to see your foot. If you can't see your foot, it's probably because your knee is too far forward and you're loading your quad and your knee joint. So pull the hip back, see the top of your foot, and use that backside. Okay, grab your weight, we got 10 reps. Okay, our last exercise is my all-time favorite single leg exercise. In my opinion, it is the #1 exercise to strengthen one leg at a time while avoiding compensation and extra help from the leg behind you. So you will need a bench, a step, something to put your leg on. All right, so we're gonna go no weight for this one, just to make sure that we get everything correctly. And believe me, we can make this very challenging depending on tempo, depth, reps. You really don't need any weight to feel this one. So it's very similar to the lunge. We're just not stepping forward and back, and we're going to eliminate this rear leg. So we're gonna start with this back knee on the floor and your foot up on the bench or step. So this is a little high for me, but it's gonna work. I would recommend nothing higher than a standard height gym bench. So just like the lunge, we are going to get set up with the knee over the ankle, pulling the hip back, leaning forward, driving the big toe into the floor, engaging those back muscles, and then standing up. So here, this back leg, because of its position, is really challenging. It puts it in a position so that it can't help as much, and there's a lot more load on this front leg. So I'm going to show you from the front so that you can appreciate how we're taking that movement pattern that we practiced in the very beginning and now adding it to this the most challenging level of these exercises. So from the front, you're gonna start down with a knee down. So if I start here, my chest is up. In order to get set for that very first rep, pull the right hip back, and remember from the very first exercise where we reached across our body and I said, look down, your nose is over your knee. That's exactly what you should feel here. Pull the right hip back, lower your chest, and we're gonna turn a little bit to the right, so where my nose is now directly over my knee, and I'm in the right position to use my right glute to stand up and drive me back to the center without losing my balance. So we're gonna lower back down and then drive up out of it. So let's try 8 reps here. Again, we're putting everything together, so we're not forgetting about the foot. We're keeping that arch lifted. We're pulling the right hip back, swinging the knee out towards the pinky toe, not collapsing in. And then keeping our spine nice and long as we hinge forward slightly. 2 more. And let's take that set over to the left side. We'll start on the floor to get set up. Big toe down, drive the knee out, pull the hip back, hinge forward. Here we go, 10 reps. So that concludes our hip strength and stability workout. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Hannah Sweitzer from Revive PhysioTherapy. You can find me on Instagram at revive_physio or at revivephysiotherapy.com.